Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring how AI is starting to make its way into the world of mental health.
Yeah, it's really a field that's just exploding right now, and we're seeing so much potential for AI to have a real impact.
And to get into it, we've got all sorts of fascinating stuff to talk about. We've got research articles all about how AI can do things like detect the early signs of depression, and even things like virtual reality therapy.
Oh, yeah, and even AI companions.
Exactly. So if you're interested in how AI is going to change how we deal with things like depression, then you're in the right place.
Absolutely.
So let's start off by talking about something that might sound a bit like it's straight out of science fiction AI, as like an early warning system for depression.
Yeah, so it's incredible what AI can analyze these days. Like, think about it for a second. AI can look at your social media posts, it can look at how you're using your smartphone, and it can even pick up on really, really subtle things in your voice, like during a phone call.
Really. So it can actually find patterns that indicate you might be struggling with something like depression.
Exactly. Patterns that, we as humans might completely miss. Like, for example, there's this company, Ellipsis Health, and they're using voice analysis technology. And get this, they've been able to detect signs of depression just from analyzing someone's voice with over 80% accuracy.
Wow, 80% just from your voice. That's amazing.
It is.
What exactly is the AI picking up on?
Oh, it can pick up on all sorts of things, like changes in your tone, how fast you're speaking, even little things like how often you hesitate when you're talking, or the specific words you use.
Wow.
There's this whole world of cues that we're giving off when we talk without even realizing it, and AI is becoming really good at understanding them.
So it's almost like having this, super listener who can hear things that we just aren't even aware of.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And, early detection like this could be a complete game changer when it comes to mental health care. Like, imagine being able to step in and help someone before they even fully realize they're struggling.
Right. It would be like having a safety net there.
Exactly.
But that makes me wonder, yeah, how do we actually use this kind of technology responsibly?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We need to be so careful about who has access to this kind of data and how it's actually being used. This isn't just about some new cool technology. It's about people's privacy and making sure that they still have control over their own information.
Right. Intervening early is important, but not if it means sacrificing someone's privacy.
I completely agree.
So moving on, let's talk about how AI is being used to create more personalized therapy experiences.
Okay, so this is where things like AI chatbots and virtual therapists are starting to make a real difference. And these AI-powered programs are designed to guide you through something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short.
So instead of going to a therapist's office, I could essentially be chatting with an AI bot to help me, manage my thoughts and my behaviors.
That's the basic idea, yeah. These bots can provide you with support 24/7, give you personalized exercises and feedback, all tailored to your specific needs.
So it's almost like having a therapist on call whenever you need them.
Yeah, exactly. And, that kind of availability is a huge benefit for a lot of people because not everyone has the time or the money to go to traditional therapy. And there are platforms out there like Talkspace, for example, that are already offering AI therapy that's EKPA compliant. So your privacy and security are protected.
So someone could essentially be receiving therapy through their phone or computer, and it's still secure and private.
That's right. Technology is breaking down a lot of the barriers that used to prevent people from getting the help they need.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing that AI therapy is probably still in its early stages.
it is. Yeah.
So what are some of the limitations we need to be aware of?
Well, one of the main things is that AI is really best suited for very structured therapies like CBT. It's not quite able to replicate that deeper understanding and empathy that you would get from a human therapist. And of course, it's essential to still have human oversight to make sure the AI is working properly and safely.
Right. So AI therapy is more of a tool than a replacement for human interaction.
Exactly. It can make therapy much more accessible, but it's not going to replace the human element entirely.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, there's something else I wanted to ask about that I saw in the research, using virtual reality in therapy.
Oh, VR therapy. That's another area where AI is having a huge impact.
So how does that actually work?
Well, imagine being able to face your fears, but in a safe virtual environment. That's exactly what VR therapy allows you to do, and AI can help to personalize the whole experience.
I can see how that would be helpful for someone who's dealing with something like social anxiety.
Absolutely. Or even for someone with PTSD who needs to confront some pretty difficult memories, but in a controlled setting.
Hmm.
There's even a program out there called XAIA that uses an AI avatar to actually mimic interactions with a human therapist.
Wow, so you're immersed in this virtual world and interacting with an AI that acts like a therapist.
Exactly. And the AI can adjust to how you're responding and guide you through different therapeutic exercises. It's incredibly immersive.
I bet that's pretty intense.
It can be, but that's part of what makes it so effective. It allows you to gradually expose yourself to situations that are challenging in a way that's safe and controlled. And the research is really promising. One study found that VR AI therapy actually led to a reduction in depressive symptoms and even gave patients a greater sense of control over their own lives.
That's really encouraging. It
Yeah.
sounds like VR therapy could be a really powerful tool for helping people overcome their fears and anxieties.
It definitely has the potential. And as AI keeps getting better, we're going to see even more innovative applications in this area.
I'm sure we will.
Ew.
Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground already, so let's just take a moment to recap. We've talked about how AI can be used to detect depression early on, how it can be used to personalize therapy with things like chatbots, and how it's being used in immersive experiences with virtual reality.
Right, and we're just getting started.
Exactly. So join us in part 2, where we're going to dive into the world of AI companions and talk about how AI might even be able to predict and prevent depression on a much larger scale.
It's going to be fascinating to see how this technology continues to shape the future of mental health care.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our deep dive into AI and depression.
Yeah, we covered so much in the last part, like early detection and even virtual therapy.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
Oh, so much.
Let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that I think is really fascinating, but also a little bit controversial: AI companions.
This is the one that really feels like we're living in a science fiction movie.
I know, right? But the reality is they're already here.
So when we say AI companions, what exactly are we talking about? Robot pets, like humanoid assistants.
It could be either one, actually. Some are designed to look like animals, provide comfort and companionship, but others are more human-like. They can actually have conversations with you and even recognize your emotions.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I'm feeling lonely or isolated.
Mm-hmm.
How would an AI companion help in that situation?
Well, they can be programmed to learn your preferences and actually adapt their behavior to suit your needs. So they can offer, a listening ear, engage in some lighthearted conversation, or even suggest activities that might help lift your mood.
It's almost like having a friend who's always available without any of the pressure that can sometimes come with human interaction.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And for people who struggle with social anxiety or isolation, that can be incredibly valuable.
I can definitely see that. But doesn't that also raise some concerns about people becoming too reliant on AI for companionship?
It does, and it's something we need to be really careful about. Ideally, AI companions should be designed to complement human relationships, not replace them.
So it's all about finding that balance between technology and those real-life connections.
Exactly. And how these companions are designed is so crucial. They need to be developed in a way that actually encourages social interaction and doesn't foster dependence.
Right. It's definitely a lot to think about. It's fascinating to see all the possibilities, but also to be aware of those potential pitfalls.
Absolutely. And that's why it's important to be having these conversations now while this technology is still emerging.
For sure. Now, shifting gears again, I want to touch on another aspect of AI and depression that I don't think we've talked about yet: prediction.
Yeah, AI's ability to analyze huge amounts of data opens up some really intriguing possibilities for actually predicting and potentially even preventing depression.
So we're not just talking about detecting signs that are already there, but forecasting who might be at risk for depression in the future.
That's right. AI can analyze data from all sorts of sources, your medical records, your lifestyle patterns, even genetic information, and use that to identify potential risk factors.
That's incredible. Could this then lead to personalized interventions that could actually prevent depression from developing in the first place?
That's the hope. Imagine being able to pinpoint those individuals who might be susceptible and then offering them tailored support before they even experience symptoms.
That would be revolutionary.
Ugh.
But wouldn't that also raise concerns about essentially labeling people as potentially depressed even before they've shown any signs?
Oh, absolutely. That's a really important point, and it highlights why careful and ethical implementation is so important. Predictive AI in mental health can't be about stigmatization. It has to be about prevention and support.
Right, so empowering individuals with information,
Hmm.
not limiting their opportunities based on predictions.
Exactly. And any technology like this should always be used with human expertise and compassionate care.
It's a powerful tool that needs to be used responsibly.
Sure.
Wow, this is a lot to process. We talk about AI companions, the potential for predicting depression, and so much more.
Yeah, it's really mind-blowing when you think about how fast this field is moving. and the potential impact it could have on mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And we're only scratching the surface here.
we are.
But hopefully we've given you a good taste of what's possible and how important it is to approach this with both excitement and a healthy dose of caution.
Yeah, finding that balance is key.
Now, in our final segment, we're going to explore some real-world examples of how AI is being used in mental health and talk about what the future might hold.
We'll get into the nitty-gritty of how these technologies are already helping people and where the field might be headed in the years to come.
Sounds good. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll bring it all together and consider the broader implications of AI and mental health care.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into AI and depression.
Yeah, in this last part, let's get really practical and talk about some real-world applications.
Right, because it's great to talk about all the possibilities. But at the end of the day, we want to know, how is this actually helping people?
Absolutely. And one area where we're seeing AI have a real impact is in the development of mental health apps.
Yeah, I've seen a ton of those popping up. What exactly are these apps doing?
Well, they use a variety of AI techniques to offer support and guidance. Some of them analyze your voice patterns and your text messages, looking for signs of things like depression or anxiety.
Right, we talked about voice analysis earlier, but how does text analysis work?
It's similar to voice analysis, but instead of looking at how you're speaking, the AI looks at your writing style. So things like your word choice, the structure of your sentences, even your use of emojis can give clues about your emotional state.
So if I'm texting and using a lot of negative words or talking about feeling hopeless, the app might pick up on that.
Exactly. And then it can use that information to offer you personalized support. So some apps might offer guided meditations, breathing exercises, or even just a friendly chat when you're feeling down.
It's almost like having a therapist in your pocket.
Yeah, it's like a pocket-sized therapist available 24/7.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Have they actually been shown to be effective?
There's more and more research coming out that suggests they can be really helpful. Studies have shown that some AI-powered apps can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, especially when they're used alongside traditional therapy.
So they're not meant to completely replace human interaction, but more like a supplement.
Exactly, and I think that's a key takeaway here. AI isn't a cure-all for mental health issues, but it is a powerful tool that can be integrated into how we approach care.
It's about finding that balance between technology and that human touch.
Couldn't agree more. Technology can help with access efficiency and personalization, but it's that human connection that brings empathy and understanding and the ability to really build relationships.
Speaking of human connection, we talked about those AI companions earlier. Are those just a futuristic concept, or are people actually using them?
AI companions are still fairly new, but they're getting more sophisticated all the time. And you can actually buy companion robots right now that can offer emotional support, reduce feelings of loneliness, and even encourage you to be more social.
I can see how they'd be helpful for people who are elderly or maybe living with disabilities.
Definitely. And as the technology continues to develop, I think we'll see AI companions becoming more and more integrated into our lives, offering companionship assistance and even a sense of purpose.
It's pretty amazing to think about.
Yeah.
It's both exciting and a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really important to remember that AI is a tool just like any other way, and it can be used for good or for bad. It's up to us to make sure that it's developed and used in ethical and responsible ways.
So where do you see all of this going in the future? What's next for AI and mental health?
Well, I think one of the biggest things we'll see is even more personalization in mental health care. AI will be used to create treatments that are tailored to each individual's needs, predict potential risks, and even develop new therapies based on a deeper understanding of how our brains work.
It really feels like we're on the verge of a huge transformation in how we think about and treat mental health.
I think so too, and it's a change that has the potential to improve so many lives.
So for someone listening who's really interested in all of this,
Yeah.
what's the one thing they should take away from our conversation today?
I think the most important thing is to be curious, but also to be critical. AI has this incredible potential to transform mental health, but it's not a magic solution. We have to think carefully about how it's developed, how it's used, and how it fits into the systems we already have in place.
And at the end of the day, we can't forget about the human side of things. Technology is a powerful tool, but it's human connection, empathy, and compassion that really make a difference.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the incredible world of AI and depression.
It's been a pleasure talking about all of this with you.
We hope this has sparked some new ideas and left you with some things to ponder about the future of mental health.
Remember, technology is always changing, and it's up to all of us to shape how it's used to create a more compassionate and supportive world.
That's a great point. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep exploring.